Well, you guys aren't easy to please. No sooner had I uploaded my last video about the rivet header come monkey tool than I had, well, several, 3, 4, 5 requests asking how to make the rivet domed. Well, quite frankly, I don't bother for two reasons. One is I don't, on most of my jobs, need it domed. I buy domed rivets for making my garden benches, and I put the dome underneath, and on top I countersink the material and hammer the rivet flush into the material, so I don't need them rounded. And secondly, it's because it's blooming difficult. You may have seen on one of my previous videos I did a bit of a rivet header and tried to make them domed, and it wasn't a particularly good attempt then. If you look back through my catalogue of videos, you'll probably find it somewhere. But I'm going to try again, as I've had so many requests. I'll give it a go, try and show you what's involved and how difficult it is. So I'm going to use two methods. Save me trying to explain what they are. We'll just watch the video and you'll see what it's all about. So let's get cracking. Okay, so for the first project I'm going to use this 3/4 bar. It's about 6 inches long, and this bit of bold bar that I've had kicking about for ages that I use doing my benches. I just hammered a ball bearing into here after drilling a shallow hole, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with this bit. So first of all I'm going to stick it up in the lathe and drill the first part of it. So I'm just going to face it off. Not that it really needs it, because most of the face will disappear when I drill the hole, but hey ho, it's a sort of habit. Alright, just run that across there. For it's not a very good viewing position from here. This is my dark corner. I'll try and get this carriage out of the way. And make sure that's not going to catch the chuck. Right, now you should be able to see a little bit better. Try and get this up there. Right, I'm just going to put a very shallow centre drill in here, because I don't want to go too deep, because the obviously the ball bearing isn't going in that far. It's probably only going in about 8mm, if that. So I just want to centre it up so we've got an idea where the middle is. And I'll put a slightly bigger drill through. Again, not very deep. Bit of jollop. It's only going in, let's say, not very far at all. That looks okay. Maybe a little bit more, just a touch. Yeah, that'll do. And then we put the big drill through. But need a sleeve. Let's see if I can find a sleeve somewhere. There we go. Right, again, a little bit of jollop, and I'm not going in very far at all with this. I think that might do, a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. It's not hypercritical, because at the end of the day you can just face the little outside edge off and start again. So just checking with the rivet that there's enough meat left in the hole to hammer the ball bearing into.
So there we go, done. And that was I think it was about a 5/8 drill, which should be just enough. I'm just going to put a nice taper on the top. That's the bit we're going to hit, so it doesn't burr over too quickly. Now I'm going to get it hot, nice and hot just on the end. I'll find a decent pair of tongs for this. These might do. Not perfect, but the bolt tongs I've got are too small. So I'll get that warm, and what I'm going to bang into the end of it is a little tool I made after I did my last video about rivet heading, because the ball bearing was bouncing about all over the place. So I've just welded it into a nut just down sort of about halfway, and that should make life a little bit easier. Alright, so you can see it's just up a bit, so we'll just give it a bit of a wallop. Make sure that that's nice and down in there. Let's have a little look. See, that looks quite nice. You can see it's made an impression about the sort of in the hole of the countersink, so we shouldn't have any sort of drill shapes left in there. And that goes right down on there. I might just grind a tiny little bit off the base, so we've got off that sort of flange edge, just so we've got a little bit of room to play with. Also going to make it a little bit thinner anyway. There we go, better look. Stick the rivet in and see. You can see I've just ground a little bit off the edge, and that is just, you can't really see very well, just sticking out a gnat. That really is just a gnat sticking out. So we'll give it a go. I'll stick a rivet in the fire. Oh, lost it. Come out. That's the trouble, you can lose them quite easily. So, got it again. I'm just going to keep it in the tongs, point it down into the fire so the bottom bit gets warmer first. What I'm going to do, stick it in there, stick that over the top, and give it a wallop. See what happens. You can see how difficult it is to keep it up the middle. It's really not that easy. This is why I generally don't bother. You see that it's going, but it just needs more. You can see it's got that much more to go. So I'm just going to get the gas torch out on it. I could just stick it back in the fire and get the whole lot hot, but I think it's easier just for the time being, just get the gas on it. Generally you don't get a second chance, obviously unless you've got gas. If you're putting together a, like when I'm putting my garden benches together, you don't get a second chance because you can't get it back in the fire. And most of them I can get done cold on the park benches or the garden benches, because I'm riveting it into a countersink, so it goes down flush. Some of the longer ones I'll have to do hot. Right, let's give it another bash. It's going. A little bit more. I'm just slightly worried about bottoming it out on the thing. But there you go, I think that's pretty good. Blind man would be pleased to see that. That's not bad. So I've just wire brushed it up so you can see it a bit better. Bit of focus. There we go. That's not bad. Not bad at all. So that's probably my preferred method. You can see they're fairly straight opposite each other as well. That's still got a tiny little bit of a lip around there still, but as I say, I'm not going to worry about that. So that was the first method. This is the second. I'm going to use a couple of blocks, 1.25" square. I'm going to put the same divots in each side of these, and then we're going to put a handle on them, sort of a spring handle, a bit like a power hammer tool, which essentially it is basically a small power hammer type tool. So first of all, drill them. Again, just going to go, I'm not going to go very deep, quite shallow. I think that'll be enough for that one. You can see I've just marked, cross-cornered and marked the centre. So I'll get them somewhere near. Put a bigger drill in. I think this is about just over 10mm, this one, because the turn it down a slower speed. And again, not going too far. You can always go a little bit further, but yeah, that doesn't look bad. Just checking with the rivet. Obviously it's not going to go anywhere near, but you can just sort of get an eyeball as to whether it's deep enough. So this time what I'm going to do, instead of using the big drill, I'm going to try and use the countersink tool. If I can find it, there it is. I'm hoping this is going to not be too sharp, sort of a steep angle. I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. It's just going to be easier than knocking the chuck out and putting that other drill in. Well, it doesn't take a lot, but if you haven't got a drill big enough, you can use a countersink. Now that's actually pretty good. Yeah, quite pleased with that. That's given me enough room to bash the ball bearing into. So there's an alternative to sticking a big drill through. If you haven't got one, stick your countersink in. Looks about right. Yep, not bad. So you can just about see it's leaving me just enough to hammer the ball bearing in, hopefully. So we'll stick them in the fire. We'll stick them both in. Get them hot together. I'll leave the tops up so I can get an idea of what heat it's coming up to without having to disturb it too much. Alright, this is what I'm going to use. So give it a go. I haven't got a particularly big hammer. That's what, 2 blows or 3 blows or something or other, not many blows. And that looks pretty good. You can see it's sort of taken all the marks off, but bar for some tiny little bit at the bottom. So I'm just going to cool that off and have a little look. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Not bad at all. So we get the other one out. Give that a go. Exactly the same process. Give it a bosh. Have a little look. A bit more, I think. That don't look bad at all. In fact, that one's better than the first one. That's taken a little bit more out of that very bottom. I don't know if you can. Of course, it's not going to focus, is it? No. That's no. I think it's because I'm zoomed in too much. It won't focus. Right, let's cool them out and check them with the rivets. So, again, that's just, and that's sticking out. That's just so it doesn't bottom out and you end up with a bit of a gap. Then it'll make it loose. If you've got that down below, it can stay loose because it just can't push up tight. Look at the other one. Yeah, that one's pretty good as well. So there we go, got them done. So let's clean them up before we weld them on the handle. Looks like I need a new wire brush. Just down to the last little knockings on this one. I do like these twisted, I don't know what they call them. I don't know if they call them twisted knot or something or other. Wire brushes, dead handy. Let's take the scale off, clean it up a little bit. Right, so, come on, focus, yep, there we go. That's what we've got. You can see one here is better than the other one, just because it's slightly got more of a mark in the bottom there, but I think that'll be good enough. And this is, as I say, like a mini power hammer tool. I'm going to put the handles on there, and I suppose if you were to put a groove, sort of drill through the two of them, cross it at one side, you could use it for making balls on the end of a bit of bar, but anyway, that's another story. Let's get a handle made. Right, I've got a bit of 10mm bar here. I have no idea how long it is actually. Just picked it up off the floor. I'll find my, there we go, tape measure. We'll have a look. 42. Doesn't have to be 42, it's just that's what size it was when I picked it up. Now what I've done, I've marked 11 inches from the sort of 6.5 from each side of the centre. And I'm going to bend them out to about, I don't know, 45 degrees, something like that. So I just stuck them in my bender. I haven't bothered putting the handle on because this is easy bend this stuff. I'll say it's easy to bend. Oh, that's why. Bit of mesh in the way, jamming it. So just give it a bit of a yank, and then to make sure I get the other one about the same, I'm just going to put a little pencil mark. Take the rivet out the top. Back on the other mark. Actually, I could have left the rivet there. Do it up. Give it another yank. So, roughly the same. Come out. That's it, undo it. There we go. Now, stick it back in the fire and get it warm again. Or get it warm for the first time. I've got this little jig in the vise. It's something I made up for a job years ago that's been kicking around under under the bench. It's just, I don't know, 3.5, 4 inches diameter, something like that. And I'm just going to pull this around it. Of course this blooming bending dog doesn't work, and that one won't fit. We'll have to go back to the original one. Just pull it, it's pulling away a little bit. That's it, tighten it back up. Get that nice and tight on there, get it warm again. Do the next half. Let's level it up. It's gone a bit wibbly wobbly. So get the other bit hot. Okay, so I don't really know what I'm doing, but that's it, get the tongs working. Just pull that one round. There we go. We've got ourselves a handle. I'm just going to gently squeeze that up a little bit. Get it to about how I want it. Level it out again. There we go. So that's about what I want. Now this is a little trick I learnt many years ago. Mild steel these days has a lot of carbon in it. Much more than it ever used to have. Not enough to really harden anything. But if you get it up to sort of a dull orange, which this is, although it looks bright orange in this camera, it's dull orange, and just quench it, and you see what happens. Ow, that's still hot. It's springy, but ouch, hot. Get it cooled out a bit more. That's got it. Yeah, it's turned it into a spring. It's really quite tough. That springs back to where it was quite readily, and it's perfect for this sort of a job. So I'm going to clean that ends up and see if we can weld them on to the blocks. Alright, just ground the ends up a little bit, taking the scale off. Let's see if we get it, hopefully get it the right way around, so that the hole is facing me. Looks about right. Turn it round. Quick clean up. See if we can get the other one in. Oh, on the floor again. Get that one the right way around. Just going to take the scale off of that one. Welds always go so much better if you get the scale off. It's quite remarkable how much nicer the welds look. I'm just eyeballing this. It's not 100% critical, and you can adjust it afterwards. You know, it's not life-threatening. Alright, let's give that one a quick brush. And we're almost there, ready to give it a go. But not quite. Let's see if they line up. They're nice and springy, that's for sure. In fact, it's almost too much to squeeze with one hand, but you can see they're not quite lined up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to adjust up the top here, just so that they line up. Right, you can now see they line up quite nicely. All I did was just opened one up and closed the other up, and it just brings them in line. Nice. And the other thing you want to do is get them parallel at a distance apart. You don't want them parallel when they're together because you're going to get your material in there. So I've made them parallel, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so apart, because I reckon, I don't know, probably even less than that in reality. It's going to be that, isn't it? So I'll have to adjust them a little bit, because that's the sort of size I'm going to want them at. So let's see if we can find a bit of bar and give it a go. I think I'm going to use this, I'm not sure because I haven't got a clue how this is going to go. What I'm going to try, because I haven't got enough hands, this is why this particular method is a lot more difficult. So I'm going to stick it on there, just hammer it a little bit just to get it secured so it's not going to go anywhere, and then we can put it in the tool. So you need another hand really. Oh no, that ain't going to work, and now it's gone cold. I think that's how I'm going to have to do it, is sort of hold it on my hip. Yeah, that's going to work, but I've just got to get it hot again. Actually, it's gone right pissy-eyed a little bit. Let's try again. You can see why I don't bother with doming them. It's just, for the sake of it, it's just too much hassle. Especially if you're on your own. If you've got two people, it's much easier, because you've got an extra pair of hands. Someone can hold this bit while you hold the other bit, and see, I'm all to 6s and 7s here. That's going. Again, if you had a power hammer, it'd be easier, because you could hold one tool in each hand and use your foot for the hammer. But that's not bad. It's got a little bit of a mark around the edge. I'm just checking the tool. I think, let me just see if I can show you a bit closer, if it'll focus as usual. There's a, hang on, come on, focus. Yeah, that's about it, I think. You can just see at the bottom there's a little lip. And I'm not sure if that's because, you see I've got it on both sides. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's because the inside of the tool, that lip is a bit too sharp and it just wants relieving a little bit. So I'm just going to do that. I think that might help. So I'm just going to go and get my little Dremel. See if we can just relieve that out there. I've just put a little grindstone on. I'm just taking that sharp edge off. I might be wrong, it might not actually be that that's causing the problem, but it won't do any harm to get rid of it. It's like on the guillotine tool. You need to sort of just round the edges off the sharp bits. It sort of cuts in and gets stuck at times on the guillotine tool, so I think this could be what's happening here. It's just catching up. Just doing this very gently, not taking a lot off. Otherwise I would have got the carbide tool on if I wanted to rip it off. Let's just turn it over, do the other one. Do exactly the same. just about do it, I think. Nothing too fancy. And those sort of grinding marks will go quite quickly when you use it. Right, let's give it another go. So I drilled another hole in the bar. I definitely think putting it in this little sort of thing first is quite a good idea. Just secures it so you can get hold of it a bit better. I'm just holding that on my hip. Yeah, it's going, but again I'm going to have to give a second heat. And again it's going a little bit pissy-eyed. Yeah, see, if there was two of you, you could move the bar about, sort of to try and keep it running down the centre. It's tricky to do when you're on your own. Anyway, it gives you an idea. Have another go. Might try it the other way up, see if that helps. It's not brilliant. It's done it, but it's still not brilliant, and it's still got that mark on there, on that edge. I've got a feeling that perhaps the holes aren't deep enough. Just checking, actually, see what sort of clearance there was. You know, I said that you need just a gnat sticking out. I'm wondering if I've got too much sticking out and it's got nowhere to go. So I might have to make those holes deeper. See, if you were working with someone else, you could hold. Oh dear. And see, I'm trying to move it. That's what I'm talking about, is sort of get that sort of movement. But it's coming. As I say, you're going to need practice. I did warn you at the beginning. If you're doing lots of them, I'm sure you get the hang of it quite quickly, but for the odd one, which is what I use them for, I'd hardly think it's worth it, to be honest. But if you've got a mate with you, you can get him to sledge for you. Strike. There we go. Let's see if you can see that lip still. It's just there at the bottom on both of them. So A, I think it's the way I'm holding it, and B, I think it could be the tool just isn't quite deep enough. Just needs a little fraction more. You can see it better there because the material's got nowhere to go except out the edge on both of them. So that's something I might do, is stick the ball bearing in, get them all hot again, stick the ball bearing in, give them another clump, just open it up a little tiny more. Anyway, proof of concept, I suppose. It works. That's what you can do if you're really desperate to put domes on your rivets. But as I say, I personally can't be bothered. But see, that's the sort of movement you want, is having two of you. That would make the rivet much more uniform, I think. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.